Hey ghouls, Krueger, the sweetest psychopath you'll ever meet, and welcome back to my channel. Hey ghouls, and welcome back. Today I am super excited for this video. I have been waiting months and months and months. Obviously I'm a big fan of horror, I say that all the fucking time, but one of my favorite all-time movies is Scream. Like, I really fucking love this movie. Like, I was super young when the first one came out, and I was taken to theaters by my parents to go see it, and I instantly became obsessed. I mean, at that moment, I was already like a big fan of like A Nightmare on Elm Street, Return of the Living Dead, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So when Scream came out, I was just very like, yes, a new slasher. And as I grew up, I became like a huge fan of Wes Craven. He's made so many amazing like horror movies, icons like Hills Have Eyes, People Under the Stairs, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Scream. So of course, I became an instant fan. And I don't know, those movies, I know right now they kind of have like Ghostface actually just recently kind of has like this whole like new like craze of fans, because I remember after a while when Scream, all three of the original ones came out, it kind of had this like like people didn't like it too much. People was like, oh, Ghostface sucks, whatever, like it was whatever. And you know what, I like just really loved the movie, like, and I was just obsessed with the image of Ghostface, like so much. I even had my friend Nikki do my nails as Ghostface or whatever. For I'm super excited for this movie, obviously, and I seen it twice already. I was gonna do this video like the night after because I saw it the day before the premiere. I got to see it early, and I was like, yes. But then I also told my friends I'd go see it with them the other night. So I was like, you know what? I'll wait to do my review after watching it a second time in case there was things I missed. Now, right off the bat, I'm gonna say I liked the movie a lot. Not as much as I was hoping to like it, but I did quite enjoy it. Now, with that said, and like with the plot of the movie and everything, we're gonna get into that right now. Real quick, this is a heavy spoiler review of the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and don't want to know anything about it, then skip this video and come back after you watch it. If you've already watched it or don't care about spoilers, then keep on watching and let's get right into it. So first off, right away, I was super excited when I saw like the cast because Dylan Minnette was in it, and y'all know me. I am a big fan of the Wallows, Dylan Minnette's band, and he's just cute as fuck. Which was weird in the movie watching him because like he is in his 20s, but he's playing like a high school student, so I kind of felt a little gross, like especially in his shower scene. I love a skinny dork, you know me. But yes, I was like watching it. I was like, ugh, it's gross. He's playing like a high school kid, but he is in his 20s, so whatever. And sorry if my face also looks a little weird and if my mouth is off. I literally got fillers this morning and I'm not supposed to be wearing makeup, but I was super excited and didn't want to wait to make this video. So here we are. My top lip, I'm still numb and I can't really feel it, so if it looks a little weird, that's why. I also got some filler in the cheeks to look real freshened up. Anyway. Anyway, so right away, I was like super excited to hear that they were making a new Scream and that Kevin Williams was coming back to help write it, I believe. I'm not actually too sure if he wrote a lot of it. What did kind of worry me was that it was backed by the people who did Ready or Not. And to be honest, I fucking hated that movie. And that is a lot said because when I saw the trailer and was going to see that movie, I was super pumped. I was super excited to see Ready or Not. And then as I was watching it, I was so like, I fucking hate this movie. Like, kill the bitch already, end the fucking movie. Like, I thought it was garbage. I hated it. I know that's like a controversial in the horror community because like every video I've watched people talk about it, they just go on about how brilliant and amazing it was, and I couldn't help but feel like just annoyed by the characters in that movie and was just bored. So when I saw that they were the ones who wrote the movie, I was kind of like, no. If you watch the trailer as much as I did, you kind of already like kind of knew what was going to happen. Like right away I could say I liked the movie a lot, but I have to say the movie was predictable and the trailer gave away way too much. And I know they were trying to say like the trailer is very misleading and blah blah blah, but it wasn't. Like honestly, if you slow down the trailer, you honestly see which one of the main characters dies, and you see pretty much who the killers kind of are. And I was a little like upset. I was honestly hoping that the twist was going to be that Judy Hicks and Wes, her son, Dylan Minnette, that they were going to be the killers, because they did, because the movie does, we go back, Judy Hicks does mention in part 4 that she had a class with Sydney. So I figured like, maybe after the incidents of part 4, you know, something happened with her and she got her son to help her in this killing spree. So I thought that would have been like a cooler twist, but that's not what we got. Anyways, I'm going to start from like the beginning to the end, revealing everything, and then at the end I'll tell you in the trailer what part showed who the killers were and all that good shit. So the opening is with Tara, and I don't know if it's with age, but the man who does Ghostface voice, I get it, like right at the beginning, it's not so, like, we can tell it's Ghostface, but we're not supposed to, I don't know, it's, in a way it's kind of like he sounded normal. Like, you can hear like the undertones in his voice that it was Ghostface, but it was also very like, I don't know. To me, he didn't sound as he normally does. And I know in part 4 he kind of had more an aggressive tone to his voice, and in this one he kind of sounded more like normal-ish, if that makes sense. I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying? Am I looking too deep into it? Anyways, so the opening scene, what I actually did like, and what I didn't like. So obviously in Scream, you know, they always talk about horror movies and deconstruct them and this and that about them. So I like in this one that they actually mention like the Babadook, Hereditary, and other shit like that. I thought that was pretty interesting because in a way that's like the new wave of horror that we have right now, is very psychological horror, like disturbing, more mentally like horror instead of just like, you know, slashers and all that shit. But I did like the conversation at the beginning, like later alluring to it is Ghostface on the phone with Tara. And then he asks her a few questions. And I don't know, I love film and I love the films within a film. So he starts quizzing her like on the real life incidences of Woodsboro. So like he asks her like, who was the main victim? Sidney Prescott. Who played Casey Becker in the film, which was Heather Graham. I love that. And I like that she goes to like IMDb or whatever, and you can see like all these big stars' names in there who were like in the original Stab movie. I thought that was pretty cute. So she ends up getting a question wrong, and it is asked like who, and see this part too, I thought it could have been a cute twist or something. The killer asks who was the killer in the original Stab killings, and she says Billy Loomis, and he's like, no, that's wrong. And at first I thought there was going to be like a big twist or something, like Billy and Stu weren't alone or something, but no, it was just because she forgot to mention Stu Macher, Matthew Lillard's character. And I was like, oh, friends. Anyways, so as that's who she's texting when Ghostface is calling her, and then Ghostface tells her like, oh, if you don't answer these questions right, I'm gonna kill Amber. She's home alone. I could get in there in 15 seconds and cut her open. So she gets the question wrong about Billy Loomis, and she like is gonna go run to go save Amber, and as Tara opens the door, Ghostface is standing there, and he slashes her across the stomach that we see in the trailer. And what I liked about it too is that like instead of just like, oh, like standing there and accepting death, she literally just fucking punches him in the face and like knocks him out, kind of. Not knocks him out, but she like knocks him back. She gets to close the door, and then the part in the trailer of them like unlocking and locking the door at the phone, and then he calls her again and asks her like, one more question for the bonus round. Did I make it into the house before you relocked the door? And of course, we saw in the trailer that he's in the house. So he grabs her from the back and starts attacking her. And the thing I did kind of like is that made it seem more real. Sorry about my dogs barking. Shut up. Anyways, so as Ghostface attacks her, he stabs her a couple times. And like I said, what I liked that seemed more real about this is that she was like fighting Ghostface, and Ghostface actually seemed kind of sloppy-ish. Like there was many times where like she pushed him, and like Ghostface tripped over, fell, hit his face on the counter, and like just kept getting back up. And as opening scene is that it necessarily wasn't a kill. She actually calls the police. So Ghostface, like, it is kind of more brutal, and I'm gonna get into that about the deaths. So like he is brutally stabbing the fuck out of her. Like at one point when she falls back on the floor and she puts her hand up, like Olivia in part 4, he like stabs her just right through the hand, and it was like, oh shit. And then he just stabs, like, I honestly am like, how would she survive? Because she survives the opening. There's no opening kill, there's an opening attack, and she does survive. Sorry, I had to bring my little demon in here, she wouldn't stop barking. And You actually see the police pulling up as Ghostface is like standing over her with a knife, and then like of course you just see the flash to have the title card in the opening screen, and you're left to like not know if Tara is alive or not. And Richie, they work at like this bowling alley or something, and they're kind of just outside talking. You see her taking a pill. He makes a joke about what is she taking, and she's like, your boner pill or whatever, whatever. And you kind of just get. I like that the way they did this too. It was like real quick to learn that Sam, the main character, who's actually Tara's sister, actually has like some psychological problems, and she's taking medication for it. She gets a call from Wes, Dylan Minnette, and she learns that her sister was attacked but survived by someone in a ghost face mask. So she decides that she's going to go back to town to check on her sister, and her boyfriend Richie agrees to go with them. And we get introduced to the new cast, which I honestly, actually, for the most part, I really loved the new cast, except for like one person, and that was Liv. I don't know why, like her character just annoyed the shit out of me. Like there's like, I don't know what it was. She just, I don't know. She just kind of annoyed me. But anyways, you see, so we meet the new cast. We meet Mindy and Chad, who are the niece and nephew of Randy Meeks. They're supposed to be twins. We meet Liv, who is Chad's girlfriend. And then we meet Wes, who is the son of Judy Hicks. And then we meet Amber, who is Tara's best friend or girlfriend. Like I said, I'm not too clear on what she was supposed to be. And I don't know, the kind of little conversation they have, they even try to allure that Chad, Randy Meeks' nephew, is the killer because there's bruises on his arms. And Amber points out, like, Tara said she fought back really hard and you have bruises on your arm. And he's like, they're from football practice or whatever. And then if you see in the trailer, I feel like some parts are cut down because we see Vince, who's like this older guy who's kind of stalking Liv, which is kind of creepy because he's like an older guy hitting up on high school students. And we see like, oh, he was someone she hooked up with like last year, and he's like stalking her and stuff. So I feel like his character was either cut down a lot in the film or just added to be like a red herring and another body added to the count, because we just see him literally like in about 2 scenes and that's it. We see him watching them as they're at school, and then it's just kind of like odd. They get a call that Tara's awake, so they go visit her in the hospital. Liv stays behind because she can't go. Never explains why she can't go, but it's obviously just to be like a red herring to be like, oh, why she can't go. So they go visit her in the hospital. Sam and Tara reunite for the first time after 5 years after she left home, because we find out later that Tara left home because she was snooping around in her attic. She found a box with old diaries, read the diaries, and spoiler alert, she finds out that her dad isn't her real dad. Her dad is actually Billy Loomis. Her mom was dating her dad in high school, but I guess had an affair on the side and got pregnant by him. So apparently Billy was cheating on Sydney the whole time. And what I kind of liked, but kind of gave me like old Rob Zombie Halloween vibes, is that it's not a ghost, but it kind of feels like that, but it's more of like her psychological like fuck up she has, Sam. She keeps seeing Billy Loomis. So yes, everyone, Skeet Ulrich is in this film. They de-aged him, and like he's sitting there in his white tee all bloody just talking to her, and she keeps seeing him like in just like visions and stuff, and he's like telling her like, oh, you know, the killer's back because of he knows your secret or whatever. And I don't know, like I liked that, but I can see why other people wouldn't like it. I thought it was pretty interesting, and I was just super wet and excited to see Skeet Ulrich back looking all sexy. And he's aged well. Like, he's daddy as fuck right now, and he was daddy as fuck back then. And I just love seeing him again. So I know a lot of people. So then as Sarah steps away into the break room at the hospital, she does get a call from Ghostface, and he does attack her in the break room at the hospital. And again, I love that she was kind of fighting back, and you kind of get that the killer is kind of like sloppy. Like every time that she's like trying to stab her, like she either hits Ghostface, she hits him with a chair, and then at one point like she's running around the table and he's swinging a knife at her, and she like just pushes the table and knocks him over, and she runs out and gets away. Of course, the policeman goes check, and Ghostface has escaped. And I kind of like that. And that's why I was hoping that it wasn't ruined for me in the trailer when I saw who the killers were, and that they were going to do something different. And because of how like kind of sloppy Ghostface was, I was in my head thinking like, it's Wes right there trying to kill them, because he kind of comes off as this little like geeky guy, and he's all about being like overprotective, like have a taser, have mace, whatever, to protect yourself from Ghostface. And then I just thought it was kind of funny, like, oh, maybe it is Wes, and he's like just really bad at this. Because he doesn't kill her. process too, while they're at the hospital, the rest of the cast, the new crew, is hanging out at a bar, and that guy Vince comes back up, tries to hit on Tara, and Chad like tells him to fuck off. They get kicked out of the bar, and is like Vince is outside pissing. I feel like this scene was kind of like chopped up real quick, because I feel like we saw a lot more of the scene in the trailer than there was in like the actual movie, because it kind of just happened real fast. Like he's pissing up against the wall, and I do like the little Easter egg. His car gets turned on, and one of the famous songs from the first Scream starts playing. He goes to turn off his car, and then gets back up, and Ghostface is standing behind him. And then like real quick, you see a fucking stab into the throat and pulled out. Like I said, the killings are brutal, but they are pretty much all stabbings again, but at least unlike part 4 and part 3, like they're vicious fucking stabbings, which is cool. Like I liked that. But what I was missing, for me, what I was really looking forward to was another like creative kill, like Rose McGowan, Tatum in the garage, Cece getting thrown off the balcony. You know, I was hoping for something a little more cute like that, but overall, I mean, like the killings are still brutal. So he gets stabbed in the throat, whatever, he dies. And he's actually like the first victim to actually get killed by Ghostface in this one. Dewey hears it on the news. And now, so real quick, I'm just going to go over the legacy cast. So Gail is now living in New York, has a morning talk show. Dewey is a retired policeman and watches her show every morning. Sydney has moved away and has kids now. And if I'm not mistaken, they do say her husband's name is Mark. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that is the name of the policeman in part 3, Mark Kincaid. And I'm wondering, like, is that who she's supposed to be married to now? They don't really specifically say, they just say, like, Mark is his name. So in the trailer, we see how Dewey calls Sydney, and he's not even what he's not doing this time is telling her to come back. He's actually telling her to stay away, and no matter what happens, to not come back to Woodsboro. And then he sends Gail a cute little text about not coming back and to stay safe. And I love the little Easter egg. He has like Tatum, his sister, who got crushed in the garage in part 1. He has her ashes on a mantle in his house. I thought that was a cute little like homage to the original as well. It shows that Judy Hicks is at home. She's ordering food. She's going to go pick it up. Wes stays home to get ready or whatever. And of course, as she's driving away, she gets a call that Ghostface is stalking Wes, and he's going to kill Wes. So of course, Judy Hicks fucking like rushes back home. And one of the scenes I actually really loved is that as she gets back home, she's like running to get into the house to go save Wes. And Ghostface is waiting on the porch. So like, it's a real like quick surprise. Like as she's running up to the door, he just pops out, stabs her in the gut. She falls off the porch stairs, and then he just literally starts stabbing the shit out of her, which I love the scene because it was like the first time you see Ghostface like brutally kill someone in broad daylight. The whole time that I'm watching, like no one can hear her screaming, and no one is watching Ghostface literally stab the sheriff like to death on her front porch. Like they were right out in the open, and yet no one saw. And the first time I saw this movie, so the first time I saw the movie, like the whole part, Wes gets out of the shower and he's like getting stuff ready for dinner, and like it's like the suspense is there because you're like, oh, where's Ghostface gonna be? Is he gonna come out? The second time I watched it, I felt like it was just kind of like dragging because like I already knew what happened. So Wes doesn't find his mother dead. He sees the front door's open, so he goes to like close it and lock it, and as he turns around, Ghostface is there. And he kind of struggles with Ghostface a little bit, and he's trying to reach for his taser that he left by the door, but unfortunately he doesn't reach for it, and Ghostface actually stabs him in the throat, and you see the knife go in here and like pop out through the other side, and my man is no longer in the movie. So as the police are there on the scene, we get finally introduced to Gail Weathers. Gail Weathers comes back. Her and Dewey have their little talk about why he left and all this stuff, and then Sam's there, and she kind of gets a whiff that like all the policemen are there. She yells at the policeman because she's not there watching her sister. So her and Dewey race back to the hospital to go save Tara, because obviously she's not being guarded and the killer is going to go back after her. And I do love the scene of like Tara trying to like get up and get into her wheelchair, even though she's like all fucked up from the attack in the beginning. She has a busted leg from him stomping on her leg. She has like stab wounds all over her stomach and even through her hand. And I like that she's like wheeling herself in the wheelchair, like her cut and her hand starts bleeding. You could just see like all the gauze around her hand like just gushing. And then I made the joke to my friend because my friend's like, why the fuck is the hospital empty? Because legit, the whole hospital is empty. And judging by the time of day that Judy was killed, it's still broad daylight outside. There's like no one in the hospital. And I joked to my friend, I'm like, oh, it's because of COVID. That's why no one's in the hospital. As she's like wheeling away trying to find help, she comes up to a police officer whose throat was like slashed open. She does a smart thing for once in a horror movie. She tries to get the policeman's gun, but the killer has already beat her to it. She goes to hide in a room and like call for help. And then Richie shows up. And one thing I kind of liked about the movie is that like he had never seen the Stab movies before, then makes a kind of a comment that they're on Netflix, so he's been watching all the Netflix movies. The Allure, that part 8 just came out last year, and it was horrible because it had nothing to do with the original. And then they show like a clip of James A. Janice and his wife Chelsea from Dead Meat, like kind of reviewing Stab 8, and all the Ghostface are kind of like in cut-off t-shirts with like chrome masks and like fucking flamethrowers. So right away when I saw that in the trailer, I was kind of like, that's badass, kind of. But I bet you that's going to be a Stab movie. Like right away, I kind of already got the vibe that that's going to be a Stab movie, not actual like Scream. So he's watching that. And real quick note, I'm in a movie called Fanboy 13, and I'm also in a James A. Janice Dead Meat segment. He's at like the horror convention that in that movie, and he's like filming everyone, and you can see me with orange hair and a little black bow standing there waiting to meet the guy who played Jason in part 6. Quick note. Anyways, so Richie gets to the hospital. She asks, what are you doing here? And he kind of it's kind of like, ooh, another red herring. Is Richie really here because he's trying to help, or is he trying to help kill her? He says that Sam called him and told him to go to the hospital. As he's like trying to help Tara, Ghostface comes out, slashes him, smashes his head against the wall, and then again, as he's trying to attack Tara, she pulls the IV bag, hits Ghostface in the face, knocks him down, and she's crawling away. And then one of the cool things is that Ghostface, which they already kind of did in part 2 with Mickey, he can talk to the people in person with the voice changer in the mask. And I like that they get a phone call and Ghostface picks it up and he turns it on, and you see the little light up, and it's Ghostface's voice as he's talking to Sam on the phone, and she's trying to race to the hospital with Dewey, and he's trying to give her a choice of, do you want me to save Richie or do you want me to save Tara? I'm gonna kill one of them. And I kind of like the whole part where he's like standing over Tara about to stab her, saying, he's like, oh, I think you're a little too weak, Sam. You can't make a choice. And she's like, I'm just buying time. And then they open the elevator doors, shoot at Ghostface. He takes off. And then as they rush in to save Tara and Richie, Ghostface pops out, attacks him. And then I was like, oh, bitch. Again, in the horror movies, like, world, it's kind of like, why didn't you keep shooting? Dewey shoots Ghostface. He falls into this whole thing of glass. She falls into this whole thing, like, of, like, all this. She falls back into this like glass panel thing and breaks up. And then they do the kind of same thing in Scream 2, where the killer's down, like out, and they're running away to escape. And instead of actually just running away to escape or staying there and finishing the job by just shooting Ghostface in the head, they run to the elevator, and Dewey decides like, no, wait, I'm gonna stay. I gotta finish this. So he sends Richie, Sam, and Tara down the elevator, and he goes back to, finish the job. And then as he's about to shoot Ghostface in the face, which is just like a serious thing, like a phone call can wait, his phone rings, and he like takes a brief moment to like look down at his phone, and in that instant, Ghostface pops up, stabs Dewey right in the gut, and then he takes another knife, she takes another knife, and stabs Dewey right in the back, and then starts sliding the knives up. And we lose a legacy character. I am 50-50 on it because I felt in part 4, one of the legacy characters should have been killed off, and was kind of like happy yet disappointed that they didn't kill one of them in part 4. And like with this one, I loved Dewey, and I'm so sad to see Dewey pass in this movie. And like they get him good, like he gets gutted, like you see all this like just splatter out onto the floor as like she's pulling both knives up in his gut and his back, and he falls down dead. And then I'm like I said, I'm mixed on it because I was like, finally they had the balls to kill a legacy character, and I'm kind of sad that it was Dewey. But also, I would have been sad if it was Sydney or Gail. I kind of like them all. I was like, one of them had to go, but I'm sad that they died. So then after that, towards the end, they're like, we're going to do what no one ever did. We're going to get the fuck out of here. So Sam and Tara are going to leave town with Richie, go somewhere and like hide away from Ghostface. Sydney tells her it's not going to work. I've done it before. I've ran away and still he's come after me. We got to kill him. And Sam's kind of against it and just wants to leave town with her sister. Somehow at one point, I don't know how Sydney knew which car was theirs or at what point she did it, but she's like, oh, I put a tracker in their car. So Gail and Sydney are following Tara, Richie, and Sam. I keep forgetting names. And as they're driving away, like I actually kind of was getting a little excited because I was like, oh, I'm like, this is a setup. Tara starts looking through her bag and realizes her inhaler's missing. So she's like, I don't want to go back to the hospital get it. Let's stop at Amber's house. I have an extra one there and I need to get my inhaler. So right there I was kind of like, I was feeling suspicious about her. And I still kind of am. So they make the decision, even though Richie's kind of like against, like, I don't want to go back. He's like, this just seems like the stupidest thing we could do. But Tara keeps saying, she's like, I won't make it. I need my inhaler. So they go stop at Tara's house. So they go stop at Amber's house. And she's having like a big party and it's supposed to be a memorial for West. They'll take shots for West because he was killed earlier, yet they're also having a big party. And she's living in Stu Macher's old house. And we kind of get the more meta, like, oh, talking about don't go off alone. They go to the basement to get beer. And then Mindy follows her down to the basement. And I kind of thought that this was actually like a reveal kind of early on. And I was like a little confused. One of the rules is not split up. Why would you go to the basement by yourself? And they kind of like having this little conversation about like not going off by yourself or whatever. And then Mindy tells her, and then Amber tells Mindy, she's like, there's a mass killer going around. Why would you follow someone into a dark basement? And then Mindy gets real serious and is like, because I'm the killer. And I was kind of like, oh shit. And then she's like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not the killer. And then they go back upstairs and whatever. And at one point, Chad and Liz get into a fight because she's trying to like take him upstairs to sleep with them. Chad's kind of like, I don't know. You might be the killer. You might not be. I don't want to go upstairs with you. So she runs off and the kids are just hanging around watching the movies. Richie, Sam, and Tara get to the house. They end the party and kick him out. And I love the whole scene of like when Richie's like kicking everyone out of the party and everyone's calling him a grandpa because we're probably like the same age, honestly. And I was like, I would kill those little bastards for calling me a grandpa. And like someone's goofy dad is kicking us out of the house. So they all leave the house. And as they're waiting around looking for her inhaler, Sydney and Gail realize that they have stopped the car and they are at Stu Macher's house. She calls Sam to let her know, like, someone lured you back there. You shouldn't be there. Oh, fuck, I skipped. Oh, shit, I skipped. So before that part happens, they kick everyone out of the party. Right before Sam and Richie show up to the party, Chad decides to go look for Liv. And on the trail, you see him with that little app tracking her down. Ghostface comes out, stabs him in the leg. And there's a little bit of a chase scene. He attacks Richie Richie, sorry. So there's a little bit of a chase scene going on after he stabs Chad in the leg. He's trying to like make it back to the house, but Ghostface attacks him and starts brutally stabbing the shit out of him again. And spoiler, he doesn't die. And honestly, I was kind of like, it looked like they stabbed him in a major artery in the leg. He should have died. Also, they stabbed him a bunch of other times, like in the gut. You'd think he would have died. In Scream 4, one gut stab put people down. And in this one, like, people keep getting stabbed like multiple times in the gut, yet somehow living. And Richie gets stabbed. Fuck, why do I keep saying Richie? Chad keeps getting stabbed multiple times. And, like, later in the end, you do see that he survived. So, yeah, okay, come back to where they kicked everyone out of the party. And Mindy, Randy's niece, is watching Stab, the original, and it's the part where Jamie Kennedy's character is watching the movie saying, look behind you, Jamie, and she's doing the same thing, sitting there like, look behind you, and then she kind of like thinks to herself like, oh wait, I'm literally in a situation where a mass killer is going around, and she like turns around and yep, Ghostface is behind her. He stabs her once in the shoulder, and I was a little disappointed. Like, I was disappointed because in the trailer, you see Mindy being attacked, and it looked like she was trying to escape, and like Ghostface popped out and was getting her. Like, to me, it looked like she was in a garage door or like a window trying to crawl out, like maybe after being chased and attacked by Ghostface, and then trying to escape, and then him popping out and like trying to stab her. Because that's what it looked like in the trailer to me. Like, I don't know if that's what it looked like to everyone else, but to me, that's what it looked like. So I was hoping for more of like a big chase scene with Mindy because I really, really fucking liked Mindy's character. Like, I thought she was funny, and I just really enjoyed watching her. I know, a bit controversial, everyone was like in love with Randy's character. I honestly did not really care for Randy. I was like, oh, they killed him in part 2, whatever. I was kind of like, oh, they killed Randy in part two, whatever, like no big deal. But with Mindy, I actually really, really liked her. So I was expecting like, a cooler like chase scene, death scene. Like I said, it looked like she was trying to escape something after already being attacked because she's covered in blood and she's like pushing the knife away as Ghostface is trying to stab her. At that moment, Sam runs in, finds her being attacked. She hits Ghostface with the lamp and he runs off. And literally, she's like not even in. I don't know. It looks like I said. It looked like she's in something. She's literally just standing up against the wall, trying to push him away. Then we're led to believe that Mindy died because she just like passes out and she's like stabbed in the like on the shoulder and she's just bloody all over. And at that moment, this is where we start getting our reveal who the killer is. Amber and Tara walk into the room and they see Sam there, covered in blood, trying to help Mindy, but they start screaming, like, what the fuck did you do? It looked like Sam was the one who attacked Mindy. Then Richie comes back in after he went to the basement to get beer. Again, why are these people trying to go get beer? Literally, there's a mass killer, and everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna go have a beer. Like, okay. So they come in and they all start screaming. Then Liv comes back in. Liv or Liz, I don't remember what her name is, the girl with the pink hair. She comes back in and they're all screaming, and then they notice that her hands are covered in blood, and they're like, you're the killer, what, like your hands are covered in blood? And she's like, no, I found Chad, I'm not the killer. And they start arguing and everything, and then Liv's like, I'm not the killer. And then out of nowhere we get the reveal. Amber turns to her and is like, I know because I am. And she pulls out the gun that she had taken from the cop at the hospital and shoots Liv right in the head. And I was kind of like, okay, brutal. I was a little surprised. Honestly, I wasn't surprised. Like I said, I knew who the killers were from the trailer. But it was like so sudden and crazy. Again, I wish it was a more cool death scene. Although I didn't really like Liv's character. I feel like, I don't know, for me, in a horror movie, a gunshot kill is such a waste of a kill. And it's just so like, eh. I mean, it's brutal. She gets shot in the fucking head and you just see all the blood behind her on the wall, like splatter, which is pretty cool. So then everyone takes off running. They go to the basement. So everyone takes off running. They kind of split up. Well, obviously Amber's the killer. Tara runs off somewhere, and Sam and Richie end up in the basement. And she's kind of getting the feel that like, oh, maybe Richie's the killer. But then he tells her like, I think Tara's the killer. She's the one who told us to come back here and whatever. And I was kind of like, oh, maybe. So she kind of like doesn't trust Richie anymore, so she leaves him in the basement, runs upstairs to go look for her sister Tara, and that's when she gets a call from Sydney that she was lured there and that she needs to get out of there because whoever wanted her there tricked her into being there, and now she's there. So I know the part where Sydney and Gail finally pull up to this old Stumacher house, and as they're walking up there, they hear her screaming. Gail's just like, sounds about right. And as they're walking up to the house, we already know who one of the killers is, which is Amber. So we see Amber running outside, holding her stomach like if she was attacked, all screaming like, help me, he's attacked me. And right away, Sydney and Gail are kind of like, this is the trap. So they pull out their guns, and fucking Amber pulls out her gun first, like, oh, fuck it. And then she shoots. She hits Gail in the stomach. Gail falls to the floor, and she runs back inside to hide. Sydney's trying to tend to Gail, and then I just love that part in the trailer. She's like, go finish this, Sydney. So Sydney runs into the house, and she's looking for Ghostface. Ghostface is calling her. She's like, where'd you go? And Ghostface is like, oh, I'm not Amber. I'm the other one. And I like how Sydney's kind of just like, oh, there's two of you, just like in the old one. I'm not surprised. And she's like, I've seen this movie. Ghostface is all like, not this movie. And she's like, whatever, I'm bored. And hangs up on him. And I love that Ghostface, hey, wait, like as she hangs up on him. I thought that part was funny. And she's also trying to look for the killer. I mean, it's a smart thing to do, but she's also just shooting into random doors and then kicking them open. And then at one point you hear someone hiding in a room. She shoots, and then you hear Richie scream, and she opens the door. She's like, what are you doing here? He's like, hiding from killers. She's like, why didn't you come when I called you? He's like, you're shooting everything. So she shoots Richie in the leg. Then Ghostface pops out, attacks Sydney, and they're fighting, and then they fall over the balcony, or like the banister of the stairs. They fall to the floor, and that kind of happens a lot in the end scene. It's a lot of people fighting Ghostface, falling, and they're both really hurt, and Ghostface and the person are taking forever to get back up. So that's what's happening in this one. And as they're getting back up, Richie's trying to run down the stairs to help Sydney, and she's like, hurry up. And he's like, I'm trying, but you shot me in the fucking leg. It hurts. So he's trying to get down to the stairs to help Sydney out. But before he gets there, fucking Sam runs in, grabs the gun, and apprehends like I said, from the trailer, I already knew, but they kept saying the trailer was misleading, so I was hoping I wasn't correct. But I was correct. And as Richie gets downstairs, he pulls out a knife and stabs Sam in the stomach, revealing that he is the second killer. And it is kind of like a shock, but like I said, if you watch the trailer enough, you weren't that surprised. I was kind of hoping it would be a twist and I would be surprised. But no, so Richie's the second killer. They pull off the mask of the one who attacked Sydney, and it was Amber. Then they take him to the kitchen, and then they take Sam. Then they go get Gail, bring her in, and they're telling her the whole plot. Let's see, if I was a psychopathic serial killer and I did this whole elaborate thing to set up like killing everybody, and I had my last victims at the end who I was gonna like frame for the murders, I wouldn't sit there and tell them my plan. I would just kill them and then set my plan up. Hello, I've seen a million horror movies, and I know sitting there telling your victims who end up being your heroes while you sit there telling them your plan, something's going on and they're gonna get rescued or kill you, which of course happens. But like, for me, as much as I love Ghostface in all the movies, I was kind of rooting for more Sydney, because in this one too, it's fine. I loved Billy and Stu. I loved Mrs. Loomis because I love Roseanne, and Mickey was all right, kind of. Roman, whatever. I didn't care about him, and I just loved Jill Roberts and Charlie in part 4. And in this one, I kind of liked Richie a lot. So when I found out he was the killer, I was kind of like, okay, cute. But then Amber, I just didn't like her character either at all. Like, she just kind of gave me that like real like, I don't know, angry bitchy vibe. And I don't know, like I just didn't like her character too much. So her as the killer kind of just pissed me off, which made me root for the heroes more. But of course they're there talking about, oh, I even have you convinced that your sister was the killer or whatever. And as so it kind of plays off on the like the first one, like, oh, like their plan's foiled. Then they get a call, and then Richie tells Sam like, oh, your gimpy little sister's not going to be able to save you now. And as Amber's like running back to the kitchen, she gets hit in the face with a crutch, and I did a lot of tears, just like beating the shit out of Amber with the fucking crutch on the floor. Richie goes out to like chase Sam after she ran off, and of course it's like this big fight scene. And the reason for killing, like, I get what they were doing, but I also thought it was just kind of dumb. Like, their motive for killing was toxic fandom. Like, I get there's a lot of toxic fandom and like all that bullshit. Like, oh, we love these movies so much that if anyone's gonna fuck with them, we're gonna make our own movie and start killing people, giving them fresh material and all that stuff. And it was supposed to be like, because they were mega fans, like real fans, that they had, I don't know, like the upper hand over everyone who was a fan of Stab or whatever. And I don't know, like, I get it. Like, I get, like, and of course people are gonna probably say, like, oh, you missed the mark. Like, I get it. I get that the whole reason, because they met on Reddit, and we all know Reddit's toxic as fuck. And of course, they've met on, like, the Stab fan site and decided to start killing. I don't know. I thought it was kind of, like, dumb. Like I said, I liked the movie, but I just thought the motive this time was kind of stupid. Like, I thought, in a way, it would be more like, I don't know, a better story if we found out that Judy was a killer for like some other reason, since she went to school with Sydney and she had Wes start helping her kill. But no, that wasn't it, because they were literally the second and third person to die in the movie. So yeah, it's toxic fandom was the motive this time. I do love the fight scene though between Amber and Gail and Sydney in the kitchen. Like, one part was funny. She grabs like this giant bottle of sanitizer and breaks it over Amber's face, and she's like, hand sanitizer? Like, really? Like, I got a big laugh from people in the audience. And I love that Sydney and Gail like just pick the bitch up and throw her over the kitchen island, and then she starts trying to play the victim, like, stop please, I'm just a dumb kid, I didn't know what I was doing. And then she's trying to, like, you know, save herself. And then the fight continues, and then she makes a point to like attack Gail after she knocks Sydney down, and she's like, oh, I love that I was the one who killed Dewey. I can't believe I'm taking you both out. So that part I did kind of like. See, I kind of like 50-50. I liked and hated it because she was like fangirling as she's like trying to kill Gail Weathers. Like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm taking both of you out. Like, as she's like strangling her. Eventually, like, Gail kicks the bitch off, and she gets up, and so after they kick Amber and she falls off, she gets up, and as she's getting up, she's turning on the stove, which is kind of like, oh, you know what's going to happen. She's drenched in hand sanitizer, and she's turned on the stove. Then Sydney throws the gun to Gail. She's like, this one's yours. And she shoots Amber like twice, and she falls onto the stove, and like her whole body lights up in fire. And I mean, it was a cute death. Well, that's not even her death. But it kind of like, if you remember this actress, I forget her real name, sorry, but Amber was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and she plays one of the Manson girls, and she literally gets killed the exact same way pretty much, except minus the dog attack from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Honestly, that was like one of my favorite scenes in that movie, is where the Manson family gets attacked, and like Amber gets well, I forgot her name is in the movie, fucking Brad Pitt. She gets a fucking dog food can thrown at her face, breaks her nose, and then the dog attacks her, and then she falls out a window, and then fucking Leonardo DiCaprio fucking blows, like, torches her with a flamethrower, and then like kind of the same thing, she gets beaten up a little, then she gets set on fire, and then I was kind of like, so they killed her the exact same way they did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, pretty much. Anyways, so okay, then there's a fight between Sam and Richie as they're like trying to like fight over a gun and a knife. Then she starts I did like the end to Billy Loomis in the mirror, and he's kind of like pointing down to the floor. There's a knife there. It was cute, but it's also kind of cheesy as like Sam and Richie are fighting in the last moments, and she's like, you should never fuck with the daughter of a serial killer, and then she like starts brutally stabbing the shit out of Richie. Well, actually no, first she has the knife in her hand and he's like on top of her, and she stabs him through the cheek and it goes out to the other side. I thought that was pretty cute. And then she gets him to the floor and starts just stabbing the shit out of him, and he's like, what, this isn't my movie. And she's like, well, this is the end. And then she slits his fucking throat open, and he's like gushing blood out, dying. And then of course, an homage to the old one, they're like, they're never really dead, they're superhuman, they're gonna come back for one last scare. And then Sam grabs a gun and she like blasts him twice in the chest and then once in the head. And it's cool because like, you do, it is more brutal. Like you see like the bullet hit him in the head, and like the back of his brain just like all over the floor. And then, of course, we get our last final scare. Fucking stupid Amber isn't dead. She comes running out all screaming with a knife, and then gets shot like in the side of the head by Tara. And that's pretty much where the movie ends. And I did like at the end, you see Mindy being wheeled out, so she did survive. And as she's being wheeled out to the ambulance, you see her give a thumbs up and wave, and you see that her brother Chad is in another ambulance who also survived. I honestly knew that they were not going to kill off the Meeks siblings. I knew they were going to survive, which I love, but I was also kind of like, come on, have the balls to kill off more people. I think like 8 people I counted died in the... So yeah, that was Scream 5, Scream 2022, whatever you want to call it. So to go over it real quick, because I've been talking for almost an hour about this fucking movie. What I liked, I did like, it was pretty brutal. It was somewhat original. Like they paid homage to like the original and all that crap. But what I didn't like is like it was a little too meta for me. Like when she when Mindy's talking about how the movie's more of a requel. It's not exactly a sequel, but it's not exactly a remake, because fans would hate it if it was either or. So it's kind of a mix of both to kind of like keep people like happy or whatever. And like I said, I liked the movie. I honestly wanted just a little more creative kills. Like, okay, it's Scream, yeah, stabs are gonna happen. I was just hoping for something a little more of a chase scene, kind of like with Casey Becker in the first one, with Gail in part 2, Sarah Darling in part 3, and Parker Posey in part 3 also. You know, because part 4 kind of lacked it for me in that department a little too, where there was really no creative kills. Like everything was a single gut stab and everyone was fucking dead. And I was like, really? Oh, and someone was mentioning that they allured that Hayden Panettiere's character, Kirby, was still alive, but as I watched it for the second time, I was looking at shit in the background, listening really carefully, and nowhere did I catch that she is still alive. I don't know if that was made up or someone really did, because then I missed it twice, but someone allegedly said that Kirby is still alive, because in part 4 she was left for dead, and before the scene cuts away you can see her still breathing, and they left that in there as like a, we could bring her back or we could not bring her back. I don't know. So I missed it. Did you guys catch it? If you did, what was it? I didn't see it. Some of the trailer kind of gave away the movie for me. Right away in the trailer you can kind of see who the killers were right away. You can see the scene where Amber's on fire and like Sydney just standing there watching her. You can obviously see that it is Amber who is on fire, and the way Sydney is just standing there watching kind of allured to me like, oh, she's the killer, because why else would Sydney just be standing there not like caring that this bitch is on fire? So right away I was kind of like, Amber's the killer. And then in a quick shot in the trailer, like as it's like showing a bunch of clips, you see the fucking scene where Sam is stabbing Richie on the floor, and if you look closely you can see like his shoulder and like his head as he's like being stabbed. So I'm like, why is Sam stabbing Richie? Is she gonna be the killer? Is it her hallucination, or is Richie the other killer and she's, you know, killing him? I kind of caught that right away. And then it shows Dewey being attacked in the hospital. So I already knew Dewey was going to die. And like I said, if you watch my trailer review, there's a scene in the trailer where it shows Gail like really distraught and like, and they're like holding her back, and you see all the ambulances and stuff behind her. And in that video, I do say like, I think Dewey's gonna die, because I don't think Gail would be that emotional about any of these new characters because she doesn't know them. And lo and behold, I was correct. Dewey died in this one. But do I recommend it? Yes, I really recommend it. Did you guys like it? Did you hate it? What did you like or what did you dislike about it? Did you love it? Honestly, with this one, like I said, because of the trailer, I kind of caught on right away who the killers were. Literally, the only scream to stump me was part 4 with the killers. Like, I kind of like had in my mind like Charlie might have been a killer. I wasn't too sure, and then I was literally like surprised as shit when they pulled off the mask and Jill was the other killer. That one actually is the only one that caught that I like got right away. And all the other Scream movies, even when I saw them for the first time as like a little kid, I kind of caught on right away like, they're the killers. Honestly, I feel like Scream 1 was very, very obvious who the killers were. Like, I feel like that was like not a surprise at all. But that was just me. I don't know. Did you guys kind of catch on who the killers were in this one right away? Did it stump you? Was it your favorite Scream? I would honestly say this would be like my second to third favorite of the franchise. Like, I love part 1, obviously. Hello, the original. Part 2 is good, but it's not the most fun Scream movie. It's kind of more of a serious one. Like I said, it's not bad. The way it would go would be either 1, 4 or 5, 2, and then 3. 3 is an awful fucking movie, but it is super fun to watch, mostly because of Parker Posey's character. Part 3 is absolutely the worst in my opinion. But I do have to say that part 4 and 5 like kind of tie between either 2 or 3 right now for me. As I rewatch it again, because I know I'm going to rewatch it like a million times like I did all the other ones. We'll see where it stands then. But as of now, it's kind of tied with part 4 for me, either being the second or third favorite for me. But yeah, I hope they make more. I love the Scream movies, so I do hope that they make more of them. I think that would be super exciting, and I can't wait. With the way this one ended, though, it did kind of like end in a way where it's like, this is the end, but it's also opened for, you know, another one. I just like, I don't know, I was kind of like, oh, what are they gonna do? Like, literally someone is constantly killing a ghost face mask. But in the end, I'm like, do I really care? No, because I get a new Scream movie and I'm excited, so I could really I really don't care why the killers are coming back to kill. Like, part 6 could be like, you cut in front of me at the grocery store in line and now I'm gonna kill you and your whole friend group. Like, as long as it has cute killings and for the most part a good plot, like, I'm there for it. Yeah. Oh, well, I have talked way too much. I was gonna show off some new makeup I bought, but I feel like this fucking video is like way too long, and I'm gonna probably cut down a lot. Anyways, but like I said, I rambled on way too long, and if you want to tip this witch, my Cash App will be down in the link below, along with all my other social media bullshit. If you want to follow me, I would greatly appreciate that. Like I said, what I always appreciate so much more is if you smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, hit that bell for notifications. Until the next time, stay spooky, and this is Terror Krueger, and I'll see you ghouls later.